For time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that that purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. Now Cal and Danny will lead us in our opening song.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I don't think this is on right now. Let's just
Wait, there you go.
Oh.
You're good.
We good? We good. There we go. Hello. So this piece we wrote a while ago for Unity. We were just sitting on a random day during the week, and we wanted to write something that talked about light. So that's what we did. And I think today we're going to be speaking a little bit about letting go and running towards light when that is possible. So this talks a little bit about that. Sun glow, can you let my heart know? Just because you say so, everything is right. Free flow, can I let the grip go? Even when I don't know, falling from a height. Run, run, run as fast as you can, run towards the light. Trade your sorrow for a new beginning. Run, run, run as fast as you can, there's no need to hide. Your heart's the only thing that's inside. It's inside. Run for your life into the light. Set your compass to the stars. What you will find, leaving behind all the things that weighed you down. Don't be afraid, legends are made when they burst out of the darkness. Open the door and take a step into the light. Yellow, using all that I know to grow stronger than my might. Bright glow, can you feel my heart so speeding as I let go, running out of sight. Run, run, run as fast as you can, run towards the light. Trade your sorrow for a new beginning. Run, run, run as fast as you can, there's no need to hide. Your heart's the only thing that's inside. It's inside. Run for your life into the light. Set your compass to the stars. What you will find, leaving behind all the things that weighed you down. Don't be afraid, legends are made when they burst out of the darkness. Open the door and take a step into the light. Into the light. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny and Cal, for sharing your light with us this morning. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teaching of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and we honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are in your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. Our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday, we extend a loving welcome. Many of us were surprised to learn there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things that we did. It felt like coming home. We hope your experience here this morning is powerful and that you'll return and join us again. And now Danny and Cal will lead us in our group song.
I don't know if we have words for this one, but I think Bobby said this last week. You sing this every week. I think you know this one. I'm going to need your help, so I'm going to get you to sing with us. And if you want to stand and move, you can. If you want to move your body, that's awesome. You move with me. Here we go. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. You got it. Woke up this morning with my mind, yes. Say, get up, we got it. Thank you. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind. You got it. Set on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind. Set on spirit. Love it. Walking and talking with my mind. Set on spirit. Hallelujah. 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 Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Last time, I want to hear you go. Woke up this morning with my mind. Come on. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal and Danny, for that wake-up song. You get us going. My name is Priscilla Florence, as Michael said, and I am your chaplain on duty today. Being a chaplain, well, that's a saying, but it's really not a duty. It is a privilege to pray with you. It helps us as well as it helps you. I am available in the back to pray with you after service. And for those of you online, feel free to leave your requests for prayers in the chat box. You will get a response. Thanks for being here this morning. Today's a special day. We are honoring Therese Clemens, and some of you remember her well. I certainly do. She was a, pardon me? I do? Who said that? What's special about it, too, is that her 3 daughters are here, and they're taking 4. Oh, excuse me. And they're participating in the service today, now and later, for the repast. And I want to introduce one of her daughters, Simone, who will be doing a reading for us today. So Simone, can you come forward? Let's give her some encouragement.
Good morning. Thanks for that warm welcome. It's been a while since I've been here. I actually spent my teen years growing up right here. This was our unit teams. Even in my college years, I was the babysitter or the youth teacher for the babies right over there. So coming back and now congregation is down here is like, wow, a lot has changed. My mom, she did a lot. She was over the Fillmores, which on behalf of her, we will have Fillmore reception afterwards. You all are welcome, including her infamous greens as well. Yes. So, and we do have a special collection that we have special envelopes to donate to the church in her honor as well. If you want to participate, the envelopes are back there. So not to stay long, but as we continue in the Lenten season with our Lenten prayer, I'll be doing it. She was also a chaplain. And it's like felt her saying, you need to go up and do the reading, because even when I was younger, she'd push me to come do the daily word, whether or not I wanted to. So in honor of her, I will lead the Lenten prayer today. And just as Jesus sacrificed his life for us, remember them through this season, I remember the sacrifices she made for us as well. So thank you. So for today, Sunday, March 26, says the process of surrender. As Jesus walked to Gethsemane with the disciples, he was increasingly in anguish and agitation. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I want, but what you want. And that was from Mark 14:36. This indicates that during this entire time, he was surrendering his infinite will over to the care of God. Jesus demonstrated is a process. We continue this divine process of becoming. We surrender our thoughts, limitations, burdens, and lives over to the tender, loving care of an infinite presence. In order to surrender, we are invited to look deeply within. We say yes to embracing the process of surrender, understanding it takes strength, our spiritual muscle. As we participate in the art of surrender, we can clearly listen to an expansive inner intelligence. This binds us all. There is, and we are free to soar. And it says, take your yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. And that's from Matthew 11:29. The reading was written by Reverend Edith Washington. And our affirmation for today, as I read the first and I'll lead it together, is I am willing to relinquish all to be free and soar the highest heights. So together, I am willing to relinquish all to be free and soar the highest heights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simone. As a chaplain, we went on a retreat at St. Mary's on the Lake one year. And Therese was not far. We had single rooms, but it is a place where you hear everybody, every door open, everybody coughing and using the bathroom even. And so Therese was near me, and I wanted to ask her if she wanted to walk to another building to go to breakfast. I called her, and she didn't answer. And I knew she was there, could hear her. I called her, she didn't answer. I called her, she didn't answer. She finally came out the door and said, let's go. I said, Therese, why didn't you answer your phone? I was praying. Therese meditated at a certain time every day for years and gave her full attention to God. Nothing could interrupt her. And anybody who knew her knew that, except I didn't at the time. talking about prayer, I wanted to take a moment to center ourselves in silence and hold yourself in prayer and hold your loved ones in prayer for 3 breaths. And now, let us go beyond ourselves and hold in prayer all who are suffering in the world. And we all know who they are. We all know. 1 minute of the news tells us about the suffering in the world. And so let us affirm the presence of God's love, grace, and guidance in every person, in every human condition. And so it is. Amen.
When we go through hard times, I think not only do we have access to spirit or God or supportive presence in our lives, but also ancestors that travel with us through time, even if they're not physically here anymore. And that's why I selected the song, is whenever the storms feel a little bit rough, you can call on loved ones, ancestors, spirit to be with you and let go. Call me when the storms are closing in, and let me hold you then. Fall into the arms of this old home, and let me drink you in. Lay your troubles down beside my door. Come and rest with me. Where the light is, there is dark no more. Close your eyes with me. The world is quietly below, but you are free with me. I can see you wanting to let go, to let it be, let it be. I will walk you to the water's edge, feel alive again, and listen to the song inside the wind, and we will dance
again. The world is quietly below, but you are free with me. I can see you wanting to let go, to let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be. Let it be. To let it be, let it be.
Thanks, Cal. Thanks, Danny. Oh my God, you guys are absolutely incredible. Love that solo. Really extraordinary. Wow, when I sat down, it wasn't this full. This is great. Wonderful to see you all. So we're in the midst of a series as we journey toward Easter, series through Lent. And we've been looking at the 5 Invitations, a book by Frank Ostatowski, who was a Buddhist hospice care worker, really, back in the days when AIDS was taking a huge toll in San Francisco. And the book is based on these invitations that allow us to discover what death can teach us about living most fully. So we're in week 4, or at least week 5 of Lent, but week 4 of these invitations. So today what we're looking at is how to find a place of rest in the middle of things. I read a metaphor that I thought was really beautiful for setting this up, and I was wrestling whether or not to share it with you, and then the power went out down here, which seemed to be like the perfect suggestion that, yep, that's an appropriate thing to talk about, because the metaphor was about a fuse box. It was a woman who had talked about living in this apartment years ago, and I thought, well, I'll change it to, we're in this church that was built in 1960, and that was a time when there weren't nearly as many electrical devices that needed to be plugged in and used. And so down here, there are just a few outlets around, and it's all on one circuit. So when we plug in all the heaters and all of the keyboards and all of the stuff, we have to be really careful about balancing how the power moves through that circuit or it blows. The metaphor for life is this. Often, or at least the metaphor that, this is from Nadia Bolz-Weber, that she used, is like we as humans, as humans walking the planet, as beings on this planet, this earth, that we have been equipped to really care for one another in a way that that can be effective, like for our neighborhood, for our tribe, for our clan. But we live in a world now where it's not just about the difficulties that we see our clan and our world faces, but in the palm of our hands, we know what's happening all around the planet. So on top of all the kind of systemic stuff that we're dealing with, we know that climate change is happening, we know that there are racism and sexism and homophobia and all this injustice that we want to see, and all of that rests heavily in most of our hearts, most of us who are caring people, and we have to find a way to sort of hold that on top of all of this stuff that just happens in terms of our day-to-day living. There's just all this stuff that's pouring through our neurological, spiritual, physical circuits, and it can be really easy for that to just sort of blow out. And we end up either caring so much that we're completely ineffective and heartbroken or depressed, or we just shut it all off and there's nothing in between. Like, how do we balance that? And I think Ostatowski's invitation to find a place to rest in the midst of it is a really powerful way for us to begin to move through this, right? Because I think what happens with a lot of us, or at least what happens with me, it's like, okay, well, if I just get through this next meeting, and then there'll be a place of rest. But then the next meeting comes, and there's some phone call. If I can just get through this day, I'll get home and have a cocktail. That doesn't, you get home, and maybe the cocktail gets you through, but it's not really being present to the energies that are pouring through, right? And you get through that day, and then it's the week, and then it's the month, and then just get to the vacation, And we never, if we don't cultivate this capacity to be with what is and to find a place of rest in the middle of it, then I think we burn out. I think that's when circuits fry. So in terms of a sort of spiritual practice, I think a beautiful example of this arises out of the biblical reading that's prescribed out of the liturgical calendar today. So it's the story of, most of you probably know, the story of Lazarus. I can sort of see, okay, Lazarus, yeah, that's the guy that Jesus raised from the dead. And we're not even going to look at the whole story, right? We'll get to resurrection at Easter. That's a different theme. But I've asked Connie if she would read the passage from John that is the very first, and I believe the foundational step for us to be able to rest in the midst of the stuff that's happening for us. So Connie, if you'd come forward.
Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." But when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. Rather it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was.
So that always seemed a bit puzzling to me. I don't know, maybe to you as well. Like, okay, Jesus has just had a gravely ill friend is probably dying. And his sisters have sent, all their close friends, his sisters have sent for Jesus' help. He wants to be saved. And Jesus, just hangs out for 2 days where he is? Like, what's that about? Because most of us, I think, would get caught up in the urgency of the situation, right? When there is a crisis, our first instinct is to, get to it. Let's get whatever we got to do. And I think what this suggests or invites us to sort of look at, what Jesus' example of waiting 2 days invites us to look at, is that we turn away from those urgencies and the sort of crisis points that we're all faced with, and that it seems like this day and age are coming at us all the time. We know about fires and tornadoes and floods and wars instantly in the palm of our hands. And it's so easy to get caught up in this reaction kind of, or reactive kind of environment or consciousness. That Jesus' example here is okay, turn away from that. Does that make us uncaring? Sort of seems like it. But doesn't he care? And yet, the La Fallas, they wrote a book on the whole Lazarus Project, so I'll be drawing a little bit from their work as well. They suggest that in turning away, we're not suggesting here that we do not act, right? There may well be some actions that we need to take in order to really help to resolve or bring healing to that situation. But we can act in a way that doesn't sort of trigger that urgent kind of response. It's when we dwell on the subject, that's what we're turning away from, the dwelling on it. Because the crisis of it can just continue to spiral in our thinking. We can continue to sort of imagine all the horrible things that are going to result as a result of it. We can continue to sort of obsess about it to the point that our spiritual energies sort of shut down, that we aren't really available to the incredible possibilities that are open to us when we're able to allow sort of Spirit's guidance and direction in, when we can create space in our minds and hearts to be present to a different alternative, rather than sort of swirling down in a spiral that just continues to exacerbate the negative, right? So Ostaszewski has another metaphor that I really love for how to sort of think about this process of allowing, this process of really creating space to rest in the middle of the craziness. He's a scuba diver, apparently. I haven't. I've done a little bit of snorkeling here and there, but he talks about scuba diving as like a metaphor for levels of consciousness that we move through. On the surface of a body of water, an ocean, say, that's where the winds are having all kinds of effect, the sun and the heat, the tides, it can be really rough up there on the surface. And he tells a story about going out to do a night dive with several friends. And so they were really excited about being able to experience, I don't know why night would be more exciting, but somehow they were appealed. They thought that found appealing. And so they went out, and there were some clouds off in the distance, but it was a bright moonlit night. And so as they started their dive, they would sort of move through the different layers that are representative of our consciousness, he would say. So the first layer, they're getting bounced around on the surface a little bit, and as you allow sort of yourself to go a bit deeper, and this is the same for us in consciousness, there's a certain stillness that happens. But also there are some deep currents, some strong currents that happen underneath the surface level, right? That move water toward the shores, that certainly have an impact and effect on what happens above and below. But it's only in sinking a little bit more deeply through those strong currents, right? Those are our currents of thought, or maybe it's the energy of emotional stuff that we have. But as we stay present, as we dive more deeply into consciousness or more deeply into the ocean, there comes to be a deeper kind of stillness, right? And there's a point at which they decided to turn off their flashlights. And what he found is that it was the most incredible, intense darkness that he had ever experienced before. And from there, he just allowed himself to continue to sink until he was seated on the floor of the ocean, wherever they were. And they were near a coral reef, so when they turned the lights back on, sort of sitting there in this present place, and just sitting still, completely still, which is the encouragement that, or the metaphor that I'm saying matches our capacity and ability to sort of move into a space of rest, right? Where we can observe, we're aware of what's happening on the surface, we're aware of the currents that are affecting it, we're aware of the possibility for this wonderful stillness. But then when we're actually able to rest, and they turned on the lights at that point, and there was this beautiful sort of kaleidoscope of color that happened with the coral reef and with these tropical fish that were darting in and out of the reef, in and out of the coral. And he said in that moment, it's like the capacity that we have to just be an observer of all of the busyness of mind that's happening, all of the awareness that's going on with our physical body, our emotions. There's a space where we can rest and simply sort of allow ourselves to see the busyness of thought and mind and body, and yet not be caught up in it. That's the level of consciousness that if we can cultivate that, even in the midst of the stuff that's happening, Spirit opens and the activity of God moves in us in ways that create really divine solutions, miraculous kinds of solutions. So how do we begin to practice that, right? I mean, it's, yes, we can do our meditations. Yes, we've got our prayer practices, but what's maybe another context to be able to move into that and make ourselves more available to that kind of energy? For this, I'm going to borrow a practice that I read in a writing by Nadia Bolz-Weber. She's just an amazing Methodist minister, teacher. And she had suggested that in this busyness of mind, in the intensity of the stuff that's happening in our lives, that there are 3 questions that are really helpful to pose. The first is, what is mine to do in this instance? And then to let everything else fall away. Take the necessary action that might be before us and let it fall away. What is mine to say in the circular? That's sort of her second coaching. What is mine to say here? Is it mine to say anything? And the third is, what is mine to care about? Which I think is probably the most powerful for us as we begin to sort of try and reduce the demands on our circuitry for spiritual energies to become available, as we can sort of become present to what's ours to care about, what is ours that specifically our hearts and minds just call out to respond to in beautiful ways, as we can clarify what that is, and then begin to let go of everything else, right? So if what's yours to care about is, I don't know, creating comfort or refuge for animals who are abused. If what's yours to care about is immigration reform, if what's yours to care about is the neighbor who lives next door and might need a meal that you could prepare and drop off, if what's yours to care about, you can sort of fully be present for that moment and the gift you have to bring, and then let go of the rest. And here's how Bolz-Weber suggests letting go of the rest. Like to find a space of gratitude, to know that this is a global village and that there are others who can sort of lift up and serve in those other areas. And we can sort of be grateful for the beautiful energy that are expressed in the fullness of our life experience, in the fullness of this global village that we have, right? So to be able to really stand in our own passion, our own gifts, aware of what's ours to give, and then be grateful and thankful that there are others to help to carry the load beyond that, right? One way in which we can step back from that space of being overwhelmed by it all and wanting to either shut down or feeling completely ineffective or like I'm not being a good enough person because I'm not extending myself and this and this and this and all of the ways in which we're called upon to find that sense of peace. So what I'd like to do now, instead of the usual meditation that we would do, normally in a unity service we would have a point where there would be a spoken meditation. And what we're going to do this morning is a little bit different. I'm going to ask a little bit maybe more of you in terms of rather than just receiving, that there's a real sort of active component to this. How many have done work with mantras? Yay, good. So some familiarity. So mantra means mind is man and tra is instrument. So a mantra is essentially an instrument of the mind. It's a way in which we can sort of move into a level of consciousness that we can begin to sort of have a little bit more finesse, a little bit more skill with sort of watching what's happening within the mind. And it's essentially a single statement that spoken aloud can sort of bring a resonance. There's all kinds of science behind it about how the wonderful positive effects that it has on our neurology and our neural pathway systems and the calming effect that can have on emotions. And so it's sort of a proven piece if you need the scientific part to try this. And it doesn't actually matter if you sing it. Well, I don't know if it doesn't matter. It can have effect whether you sing it, whether you're vocalizing it aloud. My personal belief, I didn't look up any science on this, is that the more actively we participate in a practice, then the more effective and powerful it can be with us. So I tend to believe that by actually speaking it aloud, that's my encouragement to you, my invitation to you, is to go ahead and get over whatever resistance you might have. If you feel you can't do it well enough, or you're not going to hit the right notes, or you don't get the words, it doesn't matter, right? It's sort of just the vibrational quality of setting this intention for this instrument of the mind to be able to relax is powerful. And if you absolutely don't feel comfortable singing aloud with Cal and Danny as they lead us in this mantra, it also is powerful to hold that thought in mind. Just hold it silently. So you got permission to do it both with encouragement to do it aloud, and just let's create a resonant energy in the space that just becomes a healing power. And also a practice that maybe this mantra will stick with you in mind, and you can use it in those moments when we need to sort of create a space for resting in the middle of it all. So with that, I'll turn it over to Danny and to Calandra. Danny and Cal.
Wait, is that okay? I'm going to teach you the mantra first, and then we'll repeat it. And then we'll all share it. I saw this really cool Instagram video recently, just very quickly, about how it's an idea of how maybe what would happen if our soul isn't inside our body, but our body is inside our soul. So when we do something like this, we're all connected to each other. That kind of makes me feel more like I'm in the water with you rather than separate from you in the water. So that's what I'm going to be thinking about too. What it is I'll say the sentence, and if you feel comfortable to repeat it, please do that. I release control.
I release control.
And surrender to the flow of love.
And surrender to the flow of love.
That will heal me.
That will heal me.
So I'm going to start singing it kind of as a loop. When you feel comfortable, you can speak it, you can sing it, you can close your eyes. Roll in this beautiful tepid water together. And surrender to the flow of love that will heal me.
and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. Put your palms up, facing towards the sky. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. Last time, here we go. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me.
Wow, I am healed. How about y'all? Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Danny. It's beautiful. I hope you found that heart opening. So, as Priscilla mentioned, it is a very special Sunday in that we are able to honor one of the saints of Unity on the North Shore. So at this time, I'd like to invite Simone and her sisters to come forward. They're going to be presenting us with a garden paver, and we're going to bless that as a beautiful expression of Theresa's energy and the many gifts that she shared with us. And this is... I want to hold it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Hold it. Can you hold it higher?
You want to read it?
You left us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, here's a microphone. Can I use the handheld? All righty.
Okay, thank you. You left us beautiful memories. Your love is still. You left us beautiful memories. Your love is still our guide. Though we cannot see you, you're always at our side. In love and memory of Therese L. Clemens, Mom, Grandma, and Great-Grandma.
Beautiful. Thank you. So this week marks the 5th anniversary of when Therese Clemens, one of our center saints, began her work from the heavenly realm. She died March 17th in 2018 after many years of loving service to this community. In life, she was one of the prayingest people I have ever known. She moved to the West Coast not long after I got here, but we continued to pray. And each time I tried to pray with her, she prayed back stronger than I could ever have supported her. It was just wonderful. She was deeply and passionately involved in many of our hospitality and outreach ministries, and usually she was the driving force of those. She coordinated a soup kitchen team, an annual back-to-school backpack collections. She led our Care Bear Drive and Christmas caroling at assisted living homes. She led the Fillmore hospitality team. Fillmore's, do you get it? That's a wonderful sort of metaphor. She probably came up with the name, didn't she? Fillmore's, for those of you who may not know, with the name of our co-founders, Unity co-founders, were Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. And Fillmore's fills our heart and souls with nourishment and fellowship. So I always love that name. As I mentioned, she was a chaplain and she served on the prayer team. I'm sure she served in many other areas, always with joy and with gratitude. So at this time, we are going to bless this beautiful paver that they are donating. Later, we will place it in the gardens out front, and even though Unity North Shore will be moving from this site sometime soon, the stone is a solid reminder that wherever we go, the blessing of Theresa's light and love will go with us. So we're going to bless the marker with a responsive reading, and I'm going to read a line, and then together we'll respond. Your response is going to be, "We remember." So let the words we speak be a blessing for Therese on her soul's journey and a prayer for our continued peace and wholeness. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, in the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, in the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, in the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, when we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joys and when we yearn to share. In the words of Unity Poet Laureate, Therese has put on invisibility. So we give thanks now for the faith that frees, the love that knows it cannot lose its own, and the awareness that God and Therese and we are ever one. So we'll close our ceremony now with our usual blessing. We used to call it a children's blessing. Now we use it for just about every occasion and team. Therese, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We see you doing great things, as you will for the other realm. Thank you so much for blessing us with this beautiful symbol of Theresa's work. And one sunny day soon, we'll get it installed up front with the garden. So thank you. Bless you. So this is the time in our service when we receive our tithes and our offerings, and we have a special offering that Theresa's grandchildren were going to present. So I'd invite those of you who are participating in the special gift from Theresa's family to come forward now. And for the rest of you, go ahead and prepare your hearts or minds or gifts. We won't be passing the bowl, but once we bless this gift, the bowl will make its way to the back of the room, so you can drop your gifts there at the time. Wow, thank you so much for being here. If we all kind of spread out in front of the podium, I think we're going to try and get y'all on camera so the folks at home on Zoom can be blessed by your beautiful energies. Yes, wherever. I don't want to be in front of y'all. I want you guys to have So I'm going to hand the bowl to you. And then as you place the gift, I would say, all of you, we'd love to have your energy. So just extend your hands. And what we know to be true in unity, we'll use our usual offertory blessing. Do we have that on a slide? I can't remember it. Divine love. There we go. Divine love, send all energy, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's a...
So we, the grandchildren, and the extended family of Therese Clemmings would like to and great-grandchildren, and children of Therese Clemmings, would like to present this check to Unity Church.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So those of you online, the usual ways to give are available. You can text, there's a number probably in the chat screen. You can text to our Tidely account. You can send a check. And yeah, we appreciate, we know that they are beautiful reflections of God's abundance. And as we circulate those, we know that we too are blessed individually and as in this community. So it is. I think, the offertory. You guys are singing and so vocal that we're going to keep on doing it. So go ahead and please stand and join Cal and Danny for our offertory song. Thank you.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Good morning. So I'm John Lindner. A lot of you I haven't met yet because we've got such a full house. It's so awesome. I guess I'm sort of the elder statesman on the board now at this point. And so we've had this really particularly great music again today. We've got all this great energy. And now I get to come up here and talk about business and just bring the energy way down. So promise me that we'll get it back up again after I'm done. I'm just going to do a few minutes of a couple things on this. So one of the commitments that we have as the board is to continue to communicate, be honest, and be direct. I think that's probably one of my gifts to the board is the directness part, and sometimes I think it comes across maybe a little too blunt, so I'm working on that. So the two things I'm going to do is the money moment, which is our regular commitment to talk about the finances. So we've got some great energy for some, thank you to Therese's family. The short answer in the headline is we're fine. The expenses are under control and right on budget, but our donations are down. And we know that our attendance, not that this weekend not included, but generally has been consistent where it was last year, but our donations are down from last year. So I just throw that out to be really direct and honest with folks. We still have a church to run. We still want to do our fiscal health and be responsible, do what we need to do to keep us going, and not try to sort of mortgage our future, so to speak, because we have a pending sale. For me personally, what I did this week, thinking about that I was going to be talking to folks, I upped my regular contribution, 10%, because I'm like, I can do that. The other thing that I noticed is when I was going through the finances with Kathy Mathis is we have a big line item that is just if you use Tidely, there's a credit card fee for that. So I also clicked on that, and it's next to nothing for me. So I'm paying that transaction fee. So if everybody could do that. And also I did go to my bank and just said, how does the bill payment thing work if you want to pay directly? It's super simple. You just You go to the menu, you click on it, and then you can create the payment. So none of that's complicated. So if any of that speaks to you, I invite you to kind of step up a little bit because we actually need that. There's some other things that we want to do, like at the annual meeting, it was suggested that we pay down a line of credit that we've got, and that makes sense because interest rates are going up. So we want to do that, but we also want to make sure that we have enough working capital to go through that. So that's the one thing. So sorry, that's not very exciting, but it's where we are, and it's honest. The second thing is RPH, which is Right and Perfect Home. So that's us selling this property and moving to a new home eventually. And it's been a long process, much longer than we wanted it to be. So Jasmine, a week or two ago, gave an update. And the honest answer is there's nothing new to say, but part of what we want to do is keep telling people we're still good. We have to wait till May. Probably when we go before the next committee with the city. And so we'll probably say that a bit to you because if you don't hear anything, you kind of assume nothing's happening or something's getting worse. So things are just fine around moving forward on the sale. I am going to give you 2 seconds on a civics lesson for Evanston because it's confusing. And we throw around a lot of different terms. So the initial step in the city of Evanston is DAPR. It's Design and Project Review Committee. So it was designed in Evanston to have, it's only staff members, and it was designed to make sure that all the staff members who need to sort of do things and approve things have all the information they need. So it was sort of trying to streamline things for the committees to follow. I'm not sure it's worked like that. It's just been another huge hurdle. Actually, our alderman that covers this area has proposed to get rid of it because it just creates more bureaucracy. So that's what we've been dealing with. And they've said, yeah, okay, so we've got all the information. And in our case, there were some misunderstandings on their part of what we were trying to do. So that sort of slowed things down, in our opinion, a little unnecessarily. The next step is, so there's 3 major steps. So it's DAPR, then it's the Land Use Commission, and then you go to the City Council. Planning Commission is a committee under the Land Use Commission. I spent like an hour on the website today. So the Land Use Commission oversees the Planning Commission and the zoning boards. So they're the governing body of those 2. So they are the next step, but they will most likely have them go do some other information because they do studies, they process applications, and they are formally in charge of collecting city comment or resident comments. Now, the DAPR also did that, but that's just sort of, we're just checking in, but there's a very formal process with the Land Use Commission where people can formally go before the committee. When all that happens, we'll get back to you guys and let you know, because I think we'll probably want to support it. But remember, we're in the passenger seat on all this because we're not the buyer. The buyer has to lead this. Now, we're lucky enough to have a buyer who, they could have left this process, but they're sort of used to this. We've been super flexible working with them, so he's stayed with us through this process, which is great for us. The last thing that I want to mention is some folks said, well, if this is so complicated, maybe we just have the wrong buyer. Maybe, but that's way too soon to tell because all we're dealing with is actually we have a great buyer who's being really flexible and being a great partner. It's the city that we're dealing with. And they need to do what they do. That they're the zoning and making sure that the city's making good use of how we're protecting the Evanston. All that's great. That's what they're supposed to do. We just would like it to go faster. But we can't, it's like you can't fight City Hall. You have to work with City Hall. Or the neighbors. Thanks, Priscilla. But I was editing that out. But thanks for saying what I was thinking it and you said it. Yeah, I mean, getting the comment from the neighbors, that's their right. They get to do that. But, there's so much that makes sense around this so that we still hold true to our beliefs that we picked the right buyer, that this will happen. It just is, we have to sort of give this over to God or Spirit to say it's going to happen, just not the way we wanted it in the timeline that we wanted to. So all right, so that's all the business stuff. Anything else? But now everybody, get the energy back up again, all right? Thanks.
Thanks, John. I want to thank our musicians, Cal and Danny. I want to thank the live stream team for their wonderful job this morning, and each and every one of you this morning for being here. Thank you so much. Your presence has blessed us. Now we have a few announcements. Jeff Barry's Talks on Truth class, based on Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore's book, continues Wednesday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. The class meets upstairs in the atrium through April 5th. It tackles foundational ideas about God, metaphysics, and the nature of both spiritual and human beingness. One of Jeff's passions is relanguaging Mr. Fillmore's lessons from the early 20th century, and he does a great job. I've been attending the class, and he really makes it understandable. He does a really good job. For our lives today, registration is $20 per session and can be completed on our website or through the UNS app. Good Friday is April 7th. That's less than 2 weeks away. Plan to join Jeff then for an in-person experience he's calling a Peace-Filled Pause from 7:30 until 8:30. He'll explore the gifts of release and darkness represented by the cross and the tomb as we prepare for the resurrection energy of Easter. Are you a voting member of UNS who would like to are you a former voting member of UNS who would like to reinstate your voting member status? Or have you been a member of another Unity congregation who would like to join UNS? Then plan to join the membership reboot class on Wednesday, April 12th from 7 to 9 p.m., and that'll be upstairs in the atrium. You'll meet with Reverend Kurt to review Unity principles, our UNS history, and the blessings of UNS voting membership. And I have one more announcement. The after-church chat is canceled today, but will return next Sunday. That's it. On behalf of Therese Clemmings' family, thank you for helping celebrate her 5th year working from the heavenly realm. They've invited us to continue the celebration and join them for a repast right here in the garden room, immediately following our closing prayer. And now Cal and Denny will lead us in the peace song, and then Priscilla will lead our closing prayer for protection.
Please stand. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now let us recite the prayer for protection with the words on the screen. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. I'll see you in the back after the service. Thank you for coming.
sun glow, can you let my heart know? Just because you say so, everything is right. Free flow, can I let the grip go? Even when I don't know, falling from a height. Run, run, run as fast as you can, run towards the light. Trade your sorrow for a new beginning. Run, run, run as fast as you can, there's no need to hide. Your heart's the only thing that's inside. It's inside. Run for your life into the light. Set your compass to the stars. What you will find, leaving behind all the things that weighed you down. Don't be afraid, legends are made when they burst out of the darkness. Open the door and take a step into the light. Yellow, using all that I know to grow stronger than my might. Bright glow, can you feel my heart so speeding as I let go, flying out of sight. Run, run, run as fast as you can, run towards the light. Trade your sorrow for a new beginning. Run, run, run as fast as you can, there's no need to hide. Your heart's the only thing that's inside. It's inside. Run for your life into the light. Set your compass to the stars. What you will find, leaving behind all the things that weighed you down. Don't be afraid, legends are made when they burst out of the darkness. Open the door and take a step into the light. Into the light.